For 6 years, I told myself I was a good person who happened to know something uncomfortable about a neighbor. It took a 19-year-old girl standing alone in a room full of people who loved him to show me what I actually was. I wasn't a good person keeping a difficult secret. I was a comfortable person who had quietly decided that a man's kindness to me was the same thing as him being good, and had spent 6 years being paid in clear driveways and summer barbecues to never look any closer. I wasn't keeping his secret. I'd been keeping him. You would have wanted Gary for a neighbor. That's not a figure of speech. Everyone on Linden Court did. He was the one with the snowblower. The first real snow of the year. Before you'd even found your boots, you'd hear it. Gary, out at 6 in the morning, doing the whole street. Not just his, everyone's. He never knocked, never wanted thanks, just cleared your driveways and moved on to the next one like it was the most natural thing in the world. He coached the kids rec league baseball. He hosted the block party in his backyard every August, paid for the meat himself, waved off anyone who tried to chip in. When Henderson's basement flooded, Gary was there with the wet vac before the plumber. When old Mr. Petrakis started forgetting things, it was Gary who quietly started checking on him twice a day. He told great stories too, about his years as a firefighter 2 states over before he moved here. The rescues, the buildings that came down. He had a way of telling it that made you proud to know him. I believed all of it. For 2 years, I believed all of it, and I was as glad as anyone to live on a street with a man like Gary on it. And then, at his own block party, in his own backyard, I watched a woman I'd never seen before walk up to him, a guest of a guest, someone's cousin visiting from out of state, and I watched her face go white, and I watched her say a name that was not Gary's, with a question mark on the end of it, and I watched Gary's face do something I've never seen it do. For about half a second, before the warmth came back over it like water closing over a stone, Gary looked caught. Here's the part I have had to be honest with myself about. Gary never did anything to me. Not once. In 6 years, he plowed my driveway 60 times. The woman left the party early. I found her in the front yard, waiting for her ride, shaking. And because I'm the kind of person who checks on people, I asked if she was okay. And she told me. The name she'd said was his real one. She'd known him 15 years before, in the state he claimed he'd been a firefighter in. He had never been a firefighter. He had been something else entirely. A man who had done real financial harm to real people, her family among them, and then vanished before it caught up with him. Reinvented, rebuilt, moved somewhere new with a good story about smoke and rescues, and started brick by brick becoming the most beloved man on a quiet street. She didn't have proof I could hold in my hand. She had a name, a face she was certain of, and a grief that was obviously real. She said she wasn't going to do anything. She couldn't. She had no standing. It was her word against a whole street's love. She just needed a minute before she drove home. And then she said the thing that made it mine. She looked at me and said, "You believe me? I can see that you believe me." And I did. That was the trap of it. I believed her completely, in my gut, the way you know a true thing before you can prove it. And I said nothing, and she drove away. And I went back inside to Gary's block party and ate Gary's food and told myself two things that would last me 6 years. That I didn't have proof, which was true, and that it wasn't my business, which I did not yet know was a lie. That night, I slept fine. I want to tell you that it haunted me, that I lay awake. It didn't. The snow got cleared the winter, same as always. The lie was comfortable, and the comfort was the whole point. I would not understand that for 6 more years. Why didn't I speak? I've had to sit with that one honestly, because I was scared isn't the real answer, and I owe you the real answer. I didn't speak because Gary was good to me, and I had quietly decided that was same as Gary being good. That's the whole thing. That's the rot at the center of it. He cleared my driveway and hosted my summers and checked on the old man down the street, and all of that kindness was real. And I let the realness of it stand in for a question I never wanted to ask. It is a very short distance from "this man is good to me" to "this man is good." And I walked it without noticing, because walking it was easy and asking the question was not. And there was the rest of the street to think of. Gary wasn't just a man by then, he was the infrastructure. He was the snow getting cleared and the kids having a coach, and the block party that was the one time all year a street of strangers felt like something. To speak was to detonate all of it, and to be the one who did. My silence was a line in the script, and I said it over and over for 6 years, and every August the barbecue smoke told me I'd said it right. The worst morning wasn't dramatic. It was winter, 6 a.m., and I heard the snowblower, and I looked out, and there was Gary clearing my driveway in the dark. And I felt grateful, warmly, reflexively grateful. And the gratitude was so easy that it never once occurred to me to be disturbed by it, which is exactly how I know now that I had been bought. The best purchases are the ones that feel like gift. The turn came at a community meeting in the spring. There was a girl on our street, Casey, 19, home from her first year of college. Quiet kid, worked at the coffee place. I'd known her since she was small. And it came out that spring that Casey had gone to the county and filed something. A complaint, a report. The details came out slowly about Gary. About something she said had happened involving money he'd been helping her grandmother manage. Her grandmother, who trusted him, who everyone trusted. And The street closed around Gary like a fist. The community meeting was supposed to be about a fence ordinance. It became very fast about Casey, about how a troubled girl, you should know, she'd had a hard year. People said, gently, knowingly, had made a terrible accusation against a man who had done nothing but give to the street for years. People I'd known for a decade stood up, one after another, and testified to Gary's goodness. The snow, the coaching, Mr. Petrakis, and every word of it was true, which is what made it so effective. Gary sat in the front row looking wounded and gracious and forgiving, and Casey sat in the back alone, 19 years old, watching the entire street decide she was a liar. And I sat in the middle, and the thing I had spent 6 years not looking at finally looked back at me. I had always thought of myself quietly as one of the good people on that street, kinder than most, the one who checks on people. And I understood in that room that I had been telling myself a story about my own goodness that was exactly as false as the one Gary told about his, and built out of the same material. His story was built on clear driveways. Mine was built on calling comfort, kindness. Neither of us had ever been tested because I made sure of it. I had kept us both safe. Casey wasn't crazy. Casey was the person I had always believed myself to be and had never once actually been. She'd been given the same knowledge I was given, and where I had chosen the barbecue smoke and the clear driveways, she had chosen the county office and the complaint form and this room, this exact humiliating room, alone. And she was alone because of people like me, not despite us, because of us. Her standing up there by herself was not the tragedy happening next to my silence. It was the thing my silence had been building, patiently, for 6 years. A world arranged so that the one person who told the truth would have no one standing beside her. I had spent 6 years believing that staying comfortable was the same as staying kind. A 19-year-old had to stand alone in front of me before I could see it wasn't. What I did next was small, and it did not feel brave. It felt like being about to be sick. I stood up, and my voice did not sound like my own. And I did not say one word about Gary. I said one sentence about Casey. I've known Casey since she was 6 years old, and she is not a liar. And I am not going to sit here while this street decides she is. That's all. I didn't expose anything. I had nothing to expose it with. I just refused, out loud, in front of everyone, to let her stand there alone. And then I did the thing I should have done 6 years earlier. I found her in the parking lot, and I told her about the woman at the block party, the name, the state, the firefighter story that had never been true. I told her I couldn't prove any of it, but that she might be able to now because there were suddenly 2 of us who'd seen the same crack in the same man in 2 different states, 15 years apart, and 2 is not a troubled girl's imagination. 2 is a pattern. I gave her the one thing I'd withheld for 6 years. Not rescue, corroboration. It didn't come apart in a single night. Real things rarely do. But Casey, it turned out, was tenacious in a way I had badly underestimated. The way you underestimate quiet people, which I, of all people, should have known better than to do. With a second person, a second state, and a real name to search, the thing she filed stopped being a troubled girl's grievance and started being a thread that, when pulled, kept coming. I won't pretend I watched a dramatic downfall, because I didn't. It was slower and grayer than that. There were letters from the county. There was a lawyer. There was, eventually, the real name in a real record, and the old story in the old state, and the quiet, devastating arithmetic of a man whose entire beloved life had been built on the assumption that no one from before would ever stand in the same room as someone from now. 2 people did. That was all it ever needed. Just 2 people, willing to be in the same story at the same time. Gary's house went up for sale in the fall. He didn't host the block party that August. He didn't say goodbye. One day the snowblower was just gone, and so was he. And the street was strange and quiet about it in a way that told me something I already knew. A lot of people had found it easier to love him than to look at him, and now they had to do neither, and they were relieved and ashamed of being relieved. The driveways didn't get plowed that first winter. We figured it out. It turns out a street can clear its own snow. It's just that when one man insists on doing it for everyone, for free, for years, nobody ever learns how. And nobody ever asks why he needs so badly to be the one everybody owes. Casey came by before she went back to school. She thanked me, which I didn't deserve, and told her so, because I'd had 6 years and 1 party's worth of a head start on her, and I'd done nothing with it until she forced my hand by being braver at 19 than I'd been at 45. She said something I've thought about a lot since. She said, "It's okay. You still stood up." I did, eventually. Later than I should have. After it cost someone else more than it ever would have cost me. I think about the woman at the block party sometimes. The one who started all of it, who I never saw again, who drove away 6 years too early because there was no one on that street willing to stand next to her. I think about how the whole thing might have been shorter and Casey's ear less brutal if I'd found my voice the night I first heard the crack instead of the spring I finally couldn't stand the silence anymore. I don't plow anyone's driveway. I am not trying to be the person whole street owes. But every winter, now when it snows, I go out and I do the 2 driveways on either side of me. The Kellermans, who are getting older, and the little rental on the corner, where people come and go, and where, this year, there's a young man living alone who I don't really know yet. I clear his driveway, and then I knock, and I tell him my name, and I make sure he knows exactly who has been on the street, who's still here, and that if he ever sees something he can't explain, he should say it out loud, the first time to me. Because I've learned what silence costs. It doesn't cost the person keeping it. It costs whoever has to stand alone because you didn't. If this one hit home, this channel is about the quiet moments. Good people stop protecting the ones who hurt them. Subscribe and I'll tell you another.